America, in this time of woe and want, it's not obvious why one should study philosophy. So I am going to tell you. One thing philosophy does is that it helps you look at regular things in more meaningful ways, or it helps you understand what meaningful is, so that when you look at things that are meaningful, or when you interact in a meaningful way in some of your relationships, you'll understand what you're doing, so you'll be able to do it with a little bit more intentionality, and you'll actually be able to do things on purpose, and so you'll have more meaningful actions, because if you don't know what you're doing, it doesn't really matter how meaningful it is, because you don't know that you're doing it. And so you won't remember it, and other people won't remember it as for the thing that you're doing. So you don't really understand what you're doing. And if you don't really understand what you're doing, are you really doing it? Are you really? If you don't really understand what you're doing? In criminal justice, we understand that what's in your mind actually matters to the quality of your action. But in general, if you don't understand what you're doing, then it's not really clear that you understand that you're actually doing it. So what does that have to do with Plato, the Meno, and the Symposium, right? So in the Meno, Socrates gets charged with shocking his interlocutors. Interlocutors are the people he speaks with, or numbing them. It's actually, the Greek is narkon, which we get the word narcotics. It's a form of numbing. People are dumbfounded. They speak with them. They speak with them about something that they used to, when they speak with other people, are very eloquent, and they can speak with aplomb and cheerful readiness and eloquence. And usually when they speak about a matter like such as justice or piety or virtue or anything like that, people applaud. But when they speak with Socrates about these same issues, he leads them in a series of questions that kind of undermines the base of their knowledge or their beliefs in a way that perplexes them, because it turns out that they didn't know what they thought they knew, but they thought they knew it, so they used to speak comfortably about it. And it turns out that when they speak with him, they come to confront the fact that they don't know what they thought they knew. And they're still curious in some ways, oftentimes, but they don't have a base of knowledge to interact with and to jump off from, to develop from, so they can't really go forward, right? Because their conventional way of doing things is shown to be fundamentally inadequate, right? So before, they would speak eloquently about things they didn't know, but they thought they knew. Now they are aware that they don't know what they're talking about, and they have nothing to say. And sometimes they get resentful. Sometimes they try to ghost from the conversation. If they're rich, they usually leave the conversation because other aspects of their life are working for them. If they're not, then if they're really curious, they stay sometimes and try to keep up. And then in Meno, there's a very interesting kind of situation, because Socrates is doing this with a slave boy who can't leave. So he has to kind of endure this numbing. So the slave boy thought he knew something that he didn't know, and then he now has to confront the fact that he didn't know it and can't leave. So you just see the process of what I consider philosophical development, where you actually, now that you are aware of that you don't know something that you thought you knew, you have to kind of confront not just the thing that you didn't know, you have to confront yourself. And this is where it gets interesting for questions of the AI. This is where you can bring in the Symposium, a different dialogue, where the changes in the qualities of the object of inquiry actually suggest changes in yourself, right? So it's not just that you had the answer wrong and you got to get the right answer now. You had the answer wrong in a qualitatively important way that you just need to go deeper into the thing. And that calls you to go deeper into yourself, because you, as the subject of the investigation, are related to the object of the investigation in a way that's different from how you thought you were related to the object of investigation. It's not what you thought it was in a way that means that you're not what you thought you were. And that is real philosophical advance. It changes the subject, or it implicates the subjectivity of the subject. It's not just, well, I thought it was black and it turns out it's beige. No, I thought it was black and it turns out that color isn't what I thought it was. So what else does it implicate? Color isn't what I thought it is. So what else is implicated in that and in myself? And why did I think that? So like there are deeper issues. And how this goes to the symposium is that in the symposium there's a famous speech given by Diotima when she talks about they're called the ladder of love. First, you see beauty in bodies. Then you see of beauty in a single body. And you're like, that's a beautiful body. And then you're like, well, that's not real beauty because you see it in other bodies. So you say like real beauty is what's realized in all of these other bodies. And that's instantialized in this body. So it's incorporated in this body, but it's actually not this body. It's actually, you see it in other bodies. And then you think real beauty is actually the laws that govern what's instantiated in all of these bodies. And you just kind of keep going up and you keep abstracting from the particular thing to get to what real beauty is, which is an idea that's imperfectly abstracted. It's imperfectly abstracted. I'll just keep talking. That's imperfectly abstracted in all of these other bodies, but the bodies incorporate beauty in it. So you can get to the idea of beauty from the body, but it's not a beauty isn't just housed in the body. It's abstracted from the body and it participates in the body in a way that's kind of talked about in the Parmenides, a different dialogue. That's but it's actually kind of a fascinating relationship. But what's important here is that at every level you're abstracting, you find out that reality is a little bit more abstract than you had considered it before. But what I'm arguing in this paper, and I think it's actually important and can rescue the humanities, is that it's not just that reality is more abstracted as an object of inquiry. It's that you understand what you are as different at every level of abstraction. So it's not just reality that's changed as not being tied to an object, but you as a subject aren't, you relate to your relationship with reality isn't the same, which is why the very degraded relationship that computers or sensors have with reality isn't really thinking in the same way. They can't advance beyond, the very vulgar apprehension of the world. Right? So what I want you to take from this video is that it's not just that the object of inquiry changes as you get more philosophically rich, as you kind of understand the world in a more meaningful way, and you understand what meaning is in a way that might destabilize your conventional way of life. It's not just that the object changes, the subject changes. You find out more about what you are in a way that might make it unclear how you should relate to other things. And that is the numbing. That is the befuddledness that befalls so many of Socrates' interlocutors. That when you understand that the world isn't, when you understand that the world isn't what you thought it was, you understand that you're not what you thought you were. And we emphasize the objects qualitatively changing, but we don't emphasize, or we don't even talk about how, when we understand that the objects qualitatively change, what that means about the subject qualitatively not being what it was. And when objects don't relate to each other the way we assume that they relate to each other, that means subjects don't relate to each other and themselves the way we assume that they do. So that's what causes what we consider like the existential dread, or a quality of numbing. You are not what you thought you were in a profound way. It's not that you thought you were a baker, but it turns out you're a butcher. You are It's a fundamentally different understanding of yourself because of your fundamentally different understanding of meaning in the world. And you have to relate to meaningful things in the world, which means that relation implicates yourself because you are not other than the world. All right. Thank you for your time. If you appreciate what I'm doing, which I think you should, go ahead and go to www.funkyacademic.com, kick in $5, $15, or $50 a month, and I'll keep, doing what I'm doing. And I will talk to you at another time, talking about something completely different. Take care. Peace.